r/datingoverthirty. Pack_mom says. Where to meet men in the wild. I'm 33 and recently got out of basically a 2-year relationship, on and off the past year. I'm on Hinge, and it's just not very appealing to me right now. I would like to get off and try making natural connections somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where. I go to the gym frequently, my gym is just full of people I know, so I'm considering finding somewhere else. Also my ex and I used to live together, and I'm pretty sure every man there probably thinks we are still dating. I just started horseback riding, just to be fun hobby for myself, and something to do that doesn't involve drinking alone or being lonely. I have been starting back at church, but it seems all the men are there with their wives. I'm willing to have some patience, but I also want to make sure I'm putting myself in front of the right audience. I'm outgoing and friendly and smiley, so I think I'm pretty approachable. Any suggestions are welcome. Stars_sky_night says. Try Meetup. My area has so many fun social groups. That's where I started kayaking. Neo Sea Dog says. Hinge sucks. Use Bumble. Marvel Almac says. The gym is a bad place to meet men. I know when I go, at least I'm there to get rid of the annoyances of the day. I suggest looking for a cooking class or something. Gender non-specific hobbies are great for meeting people. Horse riding, although fun, is probably not the best place to meet blokes. Danug51 says. Home Depot. Restarting_today says. You don't. Using dating apps. Airport Nero 3929 says. I went speed dating recently. It was kinda fun actually. Luna Honey says. Bouldering gym. 4-core drop trooper says. Top golf, startup pitch competitions. Maximum worth says. I really just go for hikes and hang out at home these days. I've tried the dating apps for years, but never found any success. Every relationship I've tried to start had ended up paying for me, so I've stopped making dating a focus for me. I'd like to think I'm a good, attractive, and kind guy, but I'm alone nearly all of the time and it's not easy to find me if you don't work with me lol. I'll almost never approach a woman in the wild, or anyone for that matter. I've been considering trying a D&D group, or maybe volunteering. Hiking groups usually attract sociable young people, could try that. Key Meaning 4973 says. How are you doing today? And are you in the Edmonton, Alberta area? Silly Tomato Taken says. Prison. Harenza says. Give up. Low Switch 9521 says. You need to do the approaching. Hard stop. Your success rate will be higher than you've ever dreamed. r/datingoverthirty. Lee2412 says. Best early date get to know you questions. Some of y'all may remember me from the dating burnout post that a lot of people had very valuable and helpful comments, so back again. I have 2 dates lined up this week and I wanted to come back to ask what are your top first date questions to evaluate if someone's emotionally available and ready to date. Mainly, I would want to determine if they have an avoidant attachment style or are just looking to put on a mask to play games to get what they want, usually sex or temporarily emotional intimacy, and then disappear. There are obvious ones like talking trash about multiple exes or never taking accountability, but I know you all have some gems that I have never thought of. I will drop 2 in exchange that I like to ask that tells me a lot if someone is happy with their life and if they have the mentality that will vibe with mine. 1. What is something that gives you childlike joy? How often do you get to do this thing? This tells me they have something that makes them genuinely happy outside of going out to bars or vacations, or whatever the chances are for what do you like to do for fun. Also, if they do it on the regular, it shows me that they prioritize their own happiness. to? What was the last thing you heard on a podcast, heard from a friend, or read in book that stuck with you? This shows me that personal growth is important to this person, and they are open to receiving new ideas that are not just their own perspective. My intention is not to interview someone, it is trying to ask deeper questions past the typical "what do you do for work, how was your day," or other superficial stuff. It gets old. A lot of it is how you approach these questions and tone. Not trying to give someone the third degree whatsoever. Travelde Hospital says, something fun I like to ask anyone is, if you could have 3 people over for dinner, who would they be? Could be cartoon characters, historical figures, anyone. A good follow-up is, what would you make for dinner? Inamed says, I feel like going into a date with preset questions. You're treating it much like an interview and already setting it up to not flow naturally. I think most people freeze up when unexpectedly being put on the spot like that. I know I do. I have a ton of things that bring me childlike joy, but if I was asked unprompted, I'd forget every single one. Try just relaxing and going in with no expectations and just seeing where the date takes you as far as conversation and vibe. Troubler seems to follow says, hear me out here, how do you feel about kids/marriage? It sucks to find this out later on, and it's incompatible with what you want. Pence_Secundus says, just try and be a normal person, these questions sound unhinged. Throwaway 123,456 says, what would your friends warn me about is my third date question, if things are going well. Peace at Night says, I just get the basics done. Nothing fancy. What do you like to do for fun? How do you like to unwind after work? How do you like to spend time with a partner? What are you looking for? And I also look to see what he asks me. Is it important? Is it small talk fluff? Is he focused on trying to impress me? Is he assessing me? Because I want to see he's looking for something real too. Imaginary Dark 2739 says, I personally enjoy asking what's something that made you smile/laugh recently. And if they can't think of anything, I give them a super cheesy dad joke like, what do you call a sad strawberry? A blueberry. Or what do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. M00N5T0N3 says, lately I ask more simple questions about daily routine like, what time did you wake up this morning? Haha, only if it kinda works in the conversation though. Then you can talk about like, if are morning or night owls, if it's changed over the years. r/datingoverthirty. Halien3 says, typically secure but feeling anxious. I 35 female, started dating a 39 male, early September but more officially a few weeks ago. We text every day and see each other 2 to 3 times a week. He has a very full social life, and I like that way of life too, but am not invited to much of it, and am feeling very anxious at this stage. I haven't been in a relationship in a while, and have been very selective with who I choose to give my attention to, but when I decide I like someone, I want to spend quality time with them, not every day, but on a regular routine of some sort. I'm typically a very secure, confident person, so the feelings I'm having now are very conflicting with who I feel I am. I know through Enneagram that I have a fear of being hurt and fear of betrayal. I'm trying to be cool, but my mind is running wild with ideas like he doesn't really like me, or not enough. I know, just talk to him. I just feel like I'm towing a line of being too much and needing to let him initiate plans vs the need for direct communication about these feelings. A little more context: there have been 5 dates in the past few weeks, all of which have included staying together overnight. When we're alone together I feel his interest in me, but I feel it less so outside of that for some reason. Sorry this was all over the place, but I haven't experienced such potential in a date in so long, and I don't want to sabotage it. My question is, what about this situation do you think is causing the anxiety me to not feel like my typical self? Why am I so in my head about it? What can I do differently to feel more confident in where this is going? Stranger. Advice appreciated. Janinashut says, everyone is different. In my circle of friends, partners are rarely invited, maybe 1 to 2 times a year in bigger groups, but I also tend to hang out one-on-one with a lot of my friends. Talk to him and see where he's at. I'd also argue it's quite early to do those types of things. Personally, I wouldn't feel the need to introduce anyone to my friends who I've only seen for a few weeks. Specificinow says, he is inconsistent with how he treats you. That's enough to have trouble trusting him. You mentioned he's very social. Is it possible that he's an extrovert and when he's socializing, he needs attention from as many people as possible? Is he comfortable with signs that you're together, such as holding hands? If not, it could simply mean he's not into PDA, or could also mean he's not ready to commit. Truth Several says, maybe you haven't encountered a dismissive avoidant. If he is this, that could be why. Anxious and secure alike usually get closer and closer with time, so if you feel it isn't progressing, this could be why. Pineapple Shampoo says, if you're not typically like this, but you are with him, I'd say your gut is picking up on some disinterest or reluctance on his part, or at least a major imbalance between how you both feel about one another. Sure, it's early days, but when someone is really into you, you feel it this early. You might make an effort not to rush things, but it's certainly the case that you'll want to spend as much time together as possible, show one another off to loved ones, and so forth. Or at least every serious relationship I've ever had has started off that way. I think you're sensing that it just feels a bit lukewarm. Or you're realizing you're really into him and feeling anxious because he doesn't quite seem to feel that way about you. IDK, I don't think many people in the early days of a relationship that turns into something amazing would be sad wondering whether the other person is that into them or not when someone is. You feel it. Is he wooing you? Is he making shorter lockdown time with you, planning fun dates, trying to impress you? Is he thoughtful? I think you're panicking because you know that it's rare for you to come across a connection like this, and you're anxious in case it goes wrong, and you're picking up on him not being quite as sure. Which is difficult. Ideally, you want to be super busy with your own amazing life, seeing your friends, hobbies, not always available to see him, progressing in your goals, so that you believe very deep down that if this doesn't pan out, you'll be okay. You'll thrive. I hear the comments about how it's too early, but if it's been long enough to become officially partners, it's long enough to be integrating one another into your lives. Nothing major, but you wouldn't be feeling off like something isn't right. You're his girlfriend, you're exclusive, you should feel like it's evenly weighted between the two of. Rabbit Kingdom says, are you really a secure person, or do you only feel secure when the other person is constantly reassuring you? You said you text every day and see each other 2 to 3 times a week, including overnight stays. That's already quite a lot of interaction for only having been dating for 2 months. How much more time would you need him to spend with you for you to not feel anxious? If I was spending that much time with someone, I would absolutely need some time away from them and to make sure that I'm spending quality time with my friends. It sounds like maybe you're not as secure as you'd like to think you are. All of the things you've said show that you're aware he's clearly interested in you, but you're overthinking and becoming anxious because there are times when you're not in control of the situation. People don't just completely change as soon as they're out of your sight. Give him some breathing room and spend that time on yourself and with your friends. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe